Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 57. We are available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian Podcast, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you guys would like to ask us any questions, you can leave a voice message at the anchor link or in the YouTube comment section. Today, we're going to be talking about Nintendo news and entertainment news. Then we'll quickly talk about our recent activities. Next, our impressions on the Pokemon announcements for Gen 4 remakes. Afterwards, our thoughts on the PlayStation State of Play. Lastly, our closing review on WandaVision. So first piece of news is a report coming out from Bloomberg about a Switch Pro model coming out holiday 2021. It's going to have a 7-inch 720p OLED panels, which is just the screen, I guess. And then the release of a more premium version of the Nintendo Switch with a OLED display and support of 4K graphics for the holiday 2021 selling season. So yeah, and I wrote some questions here for us to sort of think about. So, what's it called? A sort of like upgrade version of the Switch has always been talked about for like the longest time. I feel like for over the past 2 years, people have been talking about like a Switch Pro or like a Super Switch or whatever, just because the Switch came out and it's technically counted as like the last generation console along with like the Wii U and the PlayStation 4 and all them. So people are wondering if like Nintendo's going to make the jump to 4K and all that stuff. Me personally, like I don't see this actually happening, but like these reports coming out and everything like that, it makes me feel like it might happen. But I'm not like holding my breath for it. I'm not gonna, like buy it on day one necessarily. I feel like despite me having like a 4K TV and actually being able to use this sort of pro Switch, I'm not going to sort of be in a rush to see if Nintendo is going to be keeping pace with Xbox and PlayStation, if you will.
Right. Like, I mean, I would love a Pro Switch just because the Switch is very underpowered compared to even compared to the PS4 and Xbox One. Like, it was already like suffering a lot of things with other ports, like the Doom ports, and I forgot what else ports they ported there, like Warframe and stuff. But it couldn't really handle them too well. So I know this is mostly just for resolution. I don't have a 4K TV, so like I don't think it would do much for me. But if this does sort of like boost the power in any way, like if we could get more stable frames in some of the older Switch games, I think that would be worth it, honestly, since the Switch, for example, Age of Calamity, right? Like that kind of runs like garbage. So if we could have a Pro Switch and that means it can have a more stable frame rate, I think that would be definitely worth it. And also if it could help up the resolution in some games, and maybe some developers could go back and sort of like boost their games for the Switch Pro. So for instance, Xenoblade 2 runs at 720p. It would be cool if it could like go at 1080p if it's like docked or something. But again, I don't really know. Like I don't know if it's just gonna be like if it's gonna differentiate between the docked and the portable mode or what. Like we just don't really know yet. But again, if Nintendo says it does all these things, then yeah, I definitely would pick up a Switch Pro since the Switch is very weak compared to everything else.
Yeah, I definitely said the same thing. I guess with like the Wii U before the Switch was even like announced and everything like that, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get the new Nintendo console because like I was scarred from like buying the Wii U at launch and like the goddamn drought that happened after that. I was like, God damn, it really does suck buying a console at launch. So when the Switch was announced, I was like, God damn it, I have to buy it at launch, don't I? Because I don't know. I just felt like that if I didn't buy it at launch, it was going to be tough and hard to get, which obviously it was. So I was glad that like that one day when I was just sitting down here in my room, just like, well, fuck, I'm going to go to GameStop and buy it and then, go home or like pre-order it, if you will. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be the same case with this because I feel like even like today, like I'm not using my Switch or even like console gaming in general, like all that often. Even when I did have time outside of school, I wasn't doing a lot of like console gaming. So I'm not sure if I would buy a 4K Switch. Obviously, if it gets announced and it looks nice and they have all these like new features and upgrades for the games, might think twice. But yeah, I never really I think a lot of people have this opinion where it's like Nintendo doesn't really play to like keep up. Like they've always been in their own lane since like I guess the GameCube and like the Wii, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't really see them, doing this, especially this soon, like this holiday. I feel like that's a bit soon, especially with everything going on still. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see if this report is actually true because every month there's like something about a Switch Pro or whatever. So
yeah, I think the thing that makes this harder to believe is it's coming out this year, because I feel like if it was coming out like this holiday season, they would have said something in the direct, right? Like obviously they could still say something in like a June direct or whatever, like in place of like E3. Like that isn't out of the question that I could like show the new Switch there. Um, but I feel like I feel like it still happened, but I don't know. Again, we've been hearing these rumors for like a while now about like all the different Switch models, like it's gonna be 4K, this, that, and the other thing. So we just have to wait and see. I just want it to be more than just like a little upgrade. I do want it to be a little substantial. Like even from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro was pretty big, since a lot of games could handle a way better frame rate. Like with Crash 4, right? Like Crash 4 was able to do a nice 60 FPS on PS4 Pro, but like it really struggled on the regular PS4.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping for the same thing if there's a Switch Pro. Because innovation is always great, and Nintendo usually strives for that. In place for like graphics and stuff, but I feel like there's a time and place where you kind of have to at least like go a little bit more. Like, because this again, the Switch is very weak, and it shows with a lot of other games that are being made. Again, like Age of Calamity was a pretty big one, which is how bad the performance was. So yeah, I would definitely be picking it up because I feel like I've been playing console games a lot more recently than my PC. I'm like the opposite, just
Hmm.
because I just playing a lot more single player games, and usually I like to play those more on my consoles because
Hmm.
when I'm on my PC I feel like less like focused like do things. When I'm on a console I'm like, yeah, I can just focus on this game and that's it, and the PC get distracted. But yeah, I definitely will be picking it up, and I usually don't have regrets about picking things up day one because I was gonna buy the console anyway. But I could definitely get why people would feel scarred about picking up the Switch. I mean that's why Nintendo kind of like busted a load on 2017, right? Like they had
Yeah.
Zelda, Splatoon, Mario, like they had to go all out because the Wii U was such garbage. But now they could probably be a little lazier. I mean, as we're seeing now, like Nintendo hasn't been releasing all that much stuff lately, so because the Switch has just been selling like crazy anyway. So yeah, but basically, that my long-winded way of saying, yeah, I probably will buy it.
Yeah, definitely. If the Switch failed, we might be seeing Nintendo go third party and not where they are today, which would
Hmm.
be kind of crazy. But thank God it was successful. So let's
Hmm.
move on to the next thing that I'll let you do.
Yeah, all right. So Pyra and Mythra, the Smash presentation happened yesterday, and they got dropped the same day. So they came out
Hmm.
yesterday, March 4th, and they are really fun. Basically, I've been playing them. I guess I could just talk about them because I
Hmm.
haven't played them. Again, I'm no Smash expert, all right? I just play the game very casually, so don't take my word for anything. But they kind of feel like easy mode Shulk, where Mythra kind of feels like Buster / speed form, where you kind of want to use her most of the time to like do a bunch of damage, and her combos and moves come out way faster than Pyra. But then you want to switch to Pyra to like kill them, because Mythra can't kill anything, because
Hmm.
she's just mostly meant for racking up damage, and Pyra's meant to just do like the finishing blow, because she does a ton of damage. And I really like that playstyle. I love Shulk. Obviously, I love Xenoblade in general, but just his playstyle in Smash is very unique, and I think Pyra and Mythra kind of carry that same sort of playstyle where you want to like switch between the two, and it just depends on what situation you're in. If you want more power, then you switch to Pyra. If you want to just go for more combo and faster moves, you want to go for Mythra, and I think it works really well. Again, I don't know how well they're doing in like the competitive scene yet. I've seen people saying they're broken, like they always do with every DLC character. So we probably just have to wait and see. But yeah,
Hmm.
overall, I think they're really fun. I love the new stage. It's very beautiful. Just seeing all the different Titans from Xenoblade 2 like flying around in the Cloud Sea and stuff. The music is great. Like 16 new tracks is very nice. Only 3 of them are remixed though, which is kind of sad. I was hoping for at least a little more. And the remixes they decided to remix, or the songs they decided to remix, were kind of weird. It was like one of them made sense. One of them was like a boss theme. Like that makes sense. And then one of them was like a mini game theme they remixed for some reason. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And the other one was like a medley of all the Titan themes, so that one was really good too. But overall, I'm very impressed. I think they translate to Smash really well. They're not like too crazy with the things they could do. It's not like who I'm trying to think of, like I guess like Joker with like he has like a persona and stuff like some
Or Steve.
crazy, yeah, or Steve, right? Like it's not like Steve where they have like crazy mechanics or whatever. Like they're a pretty simple character in retrospect. Like they're just a really good sword character, which is fine by me. I love these type of characters, and I probably will use them a lot just because I'm really down with it. Kind of like Cloud, right? Like Cloud, I know he has his limit gauge, but they kind of played like that, which is a pretty fast sword character that could like kill pretty good. So yeah, overall, I like them a lot. I know I'm biased, but I still like them a lot. And yeah, I'm very happy they're in the game, honestly, because I love Xenoblade too.
Yeah. Just by watching the presentation, they look, pretty fun to play. I like that both of them, despite having like obviously very similar move sets, when you switch between the two, there is reason why you're switching for either heavier attacks or faster speed. And like you said, somewhat of a easier shulk where you're not, going through the 6 different Monados or modes or whatever.
Yeah, Monado arts. Yeah.
Yeah, you're sort of just switching between these two characters, and that makes a lot of or makes sense as like a easier shulk sort of thing. But yeah, just watching Kofi play last night on Discord when he was just like trying the characters out and just seeing everyone online sort of play them, it was very funny. And I believe the character doesn't actually have any kill throws, because I think that if it did, it probably would be broken.
So.
Yeah, because
it looks like her throws kind of suck, I think. So.
So you definitely got to work to get your kills, but people like MKLeo and all these other Smash pros are like, this character's insane, and I'm like, well, we're just gonna have to wait and see, because when Smash Ultimate first came out, people were like the Richter brothers were insane, but they were like, wait, you just gimp his jump and everything. So
same thing with King K. Rool. Everyone thought he was like really broken.
Yeah, so obviously the sort of Smash Ultimate meta changes day by day, but these characters are only like not even 24 hours old at the time of this recording. Yeah. So we're obviously gonna have to wait and see exactly how these characters work out. But yeah, I'm very happy to see that, Sakurai, whenever he does make a character and does these presentation, he goes very in depth in terms of like what he has to showcase. Like, for example, he spent so much time like just talking about the stage. I was like, bro, how much did you put in this stage? Like, there's so much like going on here. But
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah,
obviously it makes sense for like the game and everything, because he did put so much like detail and stuff. So yeah, I'm just glad that he's still going as in depth as he would with like a character like Steve from like 5 months ago. So but there were also some Mii costumes with like Monster Hunter characters and whatever. But yeah, I am very happy that we are getting more first party characters that are kind of cool. I know that a lot of people, when these characters were first announced, very against it. A goddamn hentai artist made them, and I'm just like, it's a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 representative, so
give me the waifus. I don't care. I mean, I'm just glad that. I'm kind of happy he's not Rex, because I feel like people would have memed on Rex way more. Because he's just like, oh, look, it's just generic shonen fucking like anime boy. So at least in Pyro and Myth, at least they're like more distinct. And I was like, oh, they're just like waifus, but I'm like, whatever. You kind of can't win. So like, whatever. I'm just glad they're both in the game, since again, I think Monolith deserves to have more representation. Because again, even what Sakurai said, it really did help a lot with Breath of the Wild development, just helping that open world, and also helped with Splatoon. Like, Monolith is everywhere with Nintendo, so I'm glad to have their other like game represented in this. So yeah, I'm all down for it, and I can't wait to play more of them later.
Yeah, and I think they had a very strong hand in what's it called, the announcement of the characters themselves, because usually Sakurai he does everything when it comes to like writing the script and all that stuff, but I believe Monolith did more of it from what I understood. But
yeah, he usually writes the script for the character reveal, but he let Monolith handle the CG plus the because like the character script, like when they come in and like do the Smash thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, Monolith even has like another like extra little scene on Twitter where it's like Pyro's like, yo, thanks for putting me in the game, bro. And like, I'm like, that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm really happy. You can tell they're really happy their characters in the game, and I really do enjoy seeing that. So
yeah, definitely. All right, so next bit of news is that Spider-Man 3's official title is No Way Home. I believe the actors had a fun time sort of like giving us fake names at first, which was very interesting. Obviously, it got trending and got a lot of people wondering what the actual title was, because what's it called? The fake titles were definitely interesting, like Home Slice or something like that. I don't even know what the other ones were, but now it's officially titled No Way Home, and that's pretty much all we know. It's still coming out this Christmas, if everything goes to plan with America and people get vaccinated and all this other stuff. But yeah, I mean, No Way Home, still with that sort of home theme. If they make any more Spider-Man movies after this, I hope that they're able to stray away from the home sort of thing. I understand with like Homecoming, because like Homecoming, coming back to Marvel sort of thing, and also as Spider-Man's first movie, and also the Homecoming dance. So like, there's like a lot of things that go into play for the first movie, but obviously they wanted to keep that going into the third one, because they did it for Far From Home for the second movie, because he went to Europe, which obviously that makes sense. But yeah, just hope afterwards if Tom Holland does stay on as Spider-Man, because I believe his contract ends after this movie. If they do manage to negotiate Tom Holland for more movies, they do more of them and they sort of stay away from the home motif, if you will.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm like dumb because I didn't even notice that was like a theme. I was just like, oh wait, No Way Home. Oh wait, Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised I never like understood that was a thing. But yeah, I guess they're gonna keep going with it at least for the end of this trilogy of like Spider-Man. So they're probably, if there is a new Spider-Man or if they're gonna keep Tom Holland, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be cool if they kind of stayed away from that, like make up a new name series after this. But
yeah, or just like name it whatever, honestly.
Yeah,
depending on what happens, because Tom Holland's still denying Toby and Andrew's involvement for No Way Home, which
he's a load of shit.
He could be load of shit, but he could also be telling the truth, because it could very much well be that like these characters aren't in there. But then again, you got Jamie Foxx confirmed pretty much, because he did post that Instagram thing with like the 3 Spider-Man and Electro, and I'm like, probably wasn't supposed to post that because that shit's deleted now. But maybe things are changing. Maybe that leads into a Spider-Verse movie. But yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of statements that Tom Holland has made, and every single time he gets interviewed for like his new movie Cherry, which is why he's like doing all of these interviews. Whenever he gets asked about Spider-Man, he's like, yeah, I don't know anything, or like he knows everything. It's obviously like very inconsistent, but that's done because he might leak something.
Right, like maybe they are purposely like not telling him stuff, but probably not. He's probably just memeing. Like, I don't know. He's probably just memeing, honestly. Like at this point, I think it's like if Toby and Andrew aren't in this freaking movie at this point, I'm gonna be like what? My life is a lie. Like I've been so bought into this this live action Spider-Verse that it kind of just has to happen now. So that's just how it is. Like usually I don't buy into like these hype things. It's not even that I'm that like I even want it that badly. It's just like it just that's just what I believe in now. So if it doesn't happen, then I'm just gonna be disappointed. So
yeah, with like every news outlets reporting all these rumors, and the guy from Doc Ock is coming back. It's like, oh man, like actually what's gonna happen with this movie? So I've pretty sure like whenever this trailer drops, it's going to be #1 trending on YouTube for possibly a whole week, I'm going to be honest. So yeah, and whenever that happens, like it's going to break the internet, because literally the sort of title teasing broke Twitter, and like people were like going crazy over it. And I think the official Twitter was like, reply and like, we'll make a bio for you, and the Spider-Man movie Twitter did it, and obviously whoever was running that Twitter account was like, Spider-Man No Way Home, starring Tom Holland, etc., Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. And I was like, I don't know if that's true or if they're messing around, but people are obviously having fun with this, because Spider-Man 3 is 100% the most anticipated Marvel thing to come out as of right now.
Yeah, like I just want the trailer to come out. And just say it, Arabi. Just say if they're gonna be in this movie, because I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So last piece of news, and this is actually pretty some good stuff here. Avatar Studios announced is gonna be expanding the Avatar and Korra. It's expanding like the Avatar lore and like universe and stuff, and has the original creators on board. So you don't have to worry about it being like straying too far from what the original vision of those shows were. Avatar Studios will produce content for the platforms, including Paramount Plus, because it has a lot of Disney. I'm sorry, not Disney, Nickelodeon stuff, and Nickelodeon has third-party platforms in a theatrical release. The first project is going to be an animated theatrical film that's set to start production later this year. So this is obviously all very good news, because last thing we heard about like what was going to happen with Avatar was a sort of live action like remake on Netflix, and it was supposed to be like more gritty, and like the characters were supposed to be aged up and stuff, which was a lot of people really weren't that on board with. The creators were on it and then they left, and it was probably because of this. I'm not too sure if they're still working on that Netflix thing or not.
Oh yeah, I got something to tell you.
Oh,
I'm not sure if you know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So supposedly, the Netflix show, they're gonna age up Katara and make her the older sister and Sokka the younger one.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
and all that stuff. So Obviously, people are like, "Yo, Aang's gonna be like 15 and Katara's like 20 something." Like that shit's gonna be weird. Which is
That's a little
like,
monka.
yeah, that shit's weird. Like today, obviously, but even like like when people are of like legal age, when people are like 19 and like you're dating someone that's like 26 or 27, I still find that to be a little weird. But then again, y'all are consensual adults, y'all do what you gotta do. But I'm gonna be keeping one eye open at y'all, just saying. But anyways,
John Katara.
but yeah, I just think that like this whole Avatar Studios thing is obviously like very good. The fact that Nickelodeon wanted to do this and they were able to get the original creators on board to do this, because I think that a lot of people, or like Viacom and like Nickelodeon, obviously like they know like Avatar has been like fucking popping like recently. Like they were like, yo, we put this shit on Netflix, everyone's talking about it, everyone's watching it again. Like people love Avatar and Korra, and obviously people love Avatar a lot more than Korra, but there's still that small audience that really does enjoy Korra and who her character is and all that stuff. So having these people back and having a dedicated studio to create streaming shows, Nickelodeon shows, and like pretty much just more Avatar stuff to sort of expand the world and the universe is good, because after Korra ended, people were like, well, what's gonna happen? I mean, they got the comics, so like my hope is that they adapt some of the comics but maybe do some new stuff as well, just because I believe the comics, for the Avatar series anyways, they take place literally right after the show ends. So
Yeah.
it pretty much takes more adventures of Aang, Katara, Sokka, and all of them. I haven't read them myself yet. I actually do have them. I just haven't had the time to sit down and read them. But from my understanding, they're pretty good. They really do are faithful to the series. If not, if they're gonna do something sort of different, but also take these characters and sort of follow them as well. People want aged up Avatar gang, etc., etc. Like there's a lot that they could do with this, and the first project being a full like theatrical movie, I think it is a good idea. I'm not sure what the movie's going to be about, obviously, other than that, it's going to be a goddamn movie. Hopefully it's like an hour, 30 minutes long, because I feel like anything longer than that, they're going to be, pushing themselves in terms of like animation and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I think that whatever they do with this, especially with the original creators on board, I feel like that it can be good. My taste of Korra that happened, I feel like that it's not all of their fault. It was definitely them being like, oh, we're going to make this one-off season, and then they wanted another season, and then another and another sort of thing. Like it wasn't fully planned out as a 4-book series, but if they knew that it was going to be 4 books, it probably could have been a whole lot better. But yeah, that's my little Avatar spiel.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think Korra was mostly gimped by Nickelodeon. Like, it wasn't like I don't really think it was their fault, because there is a lot of good moments in Korra, and I think Korra does get a lot of like crapped on just because it's like oh, it's not as good as the original. But I feel like they couldn't really plan out the whole thing like they did with Avatar, the original series, just because Nickelodeon was kind of being dumb about it. So hopefully now that Nickelodeon really sees the potential in Avatar, because everyone's got nostalgia for it. It went on Netflix, and people are starting to watch the whole series again and know how good it is. Hopefully now they actually give them the budget and time to make something really good. And I'm kind of hoping that this it doesn't really follow. And obviously, I think that's a great idea when they adapt the comics into like its own series. I think that would be cool. But I also like to just see a new bender as well, like start with like a new cycle of Avatar, whether that be a firebender or earthbender. I think that would be pretty sick. And hopefully this movie is be like the start of like that that Avatar's adventure. I think that would be pretty cool. I also hope it's not 3D animated, right? Like I also hope it's like 2D animated, because that'd be a little weird. But I'm glad it's animated. Like that's another great thing. Like I think that world is like so creative that I feel like you can't really do it justice in live action. At least I feel like you can't. And obviously I just love the art style of the original Avatar, and Korra was like semi-anime sort of look. So yeah, I'm really down for this. I'm a pretty late fan to Avatar. I watched it like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Like I didn't watch it as a kid, but I definitely love it. It's definitely up there as like some of my favorite like shows ever. So definitely looking forward to seeing what they could do now that they have like a whole freaking studio now. So I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, and I think that the reason why they made this whole studio was to probably push people to get Paramount Plus, which is
Yeah.
obviously another streaming service that people are gonna have to subscribe to or whatever the case is, because every goddamn studio has to have a what's it called, streaming platform. But yeah, whatever they do with this, I know that the original creators are behind it, so I'm gonna have like full faith in whatever they decide to do. I feel like they should try to ease in new Avatar stuff. Not start with a whole new Bender. Maybe sort of bring back Avatar, Gang and Aang, all of them first, and then maybe a Korra thing, and then maybe a whole new thing. But obviously they got a whole studio, so hopefully there's a budget for that, because if you watch some of the Korra episodes, god damn, it doesn't look pretty, guys. That's
Yeah.
it's all I'm saying. Some of the animation, they're straight up dragging characters across the screen, and yeah, but enough of that.
All right, so now we can do our recent activities, I guess.
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I go first, because literally all I've been doing was playing Persona 5 Strikers, and I actually finished it.
Hmm.
Not many games make me want to beat like a 40-hour game in like a week, but this game did, because I love Persona 5, if you couldn't tell, and I really simp for it, and I'm gonna simp for this because this is probably the best Warrior games I have played, just because it doesn't even feel like a Warriors game. So obviously this has like the same premise as things like Hyrule Warriors or Fire Emblem Warriors or Dragon Quest Heroes, where it's like, hey, here's Persona characters but in a Dynasty Warriors setting. Except not really, because I think I said this last time, where the game plays a lot more just like an action RPG, where it still takes the mechanics of Warriors, where you have like your combo system is the same, and there's a bunch of enemies on screen sometimes, but not most of the time. But
Hmm.
most of the mechanics it takes from Persona. You could summon your Persona, and whenever you're about to activate a skill, it freezes time, so you get able to do like more tactical decisions on what you want to do. Like, you could analyze their weaknesses. You could see if you want to buff people, if you want to heal, like, and time just freezes, so you're able to make those decisions. So it's a good sort of fusion of that action combat plus that turn-based strategy that you would get from a Persona game, and I thought that was really neat. And again, it borrows like everything from Persona 5. It has all out attacks. If you knock down the enemy, it has elemental weaknesses as well. Showtime attacks and Royal, like, has all that stuff. So again, the combat feels a lot more like just a Persona action RPG than a actual Dynasty Warriors game, which is great because I know some people don't like the Warriors format, and I love Warriors, but yeah, I could see how, because it does get pretty repetitive. But this game doesn't really have the same like sort of style to it. Again, like in a Warriors game, it's more like just an open battlefield with a bunch of enemies. This one acts more like its traditional like palaces from Persona 5, where it has different mechanics depending on what jail you're in, and like different enemy encounters. So it definitely feels the less repetitive out of any of the other Warriors games I have played. Again, the repetition isn't a bad thing, but it definitely is something that a lot of people would like. But this game really does feel like a breath of fresh air into this formula, which is really nice, since this is the game that takes the most out of its source material than any of the other Warriors games. And just like the story and stuff, like just everything about it just feels like Persona. Like I almost forget this is like a spin-off game, because it really does feel like a sequel, because the game really does pick off right where Persona 5 left off. And all the characters act the same. They all like have their same, like, they went through all their character arcs, and you can really see them like sort of like keep growing as a result of the things they did in Persona 5, which is why I really don't recommend playing this game if you didn't play Persona 5. I see a lot of people say, "Oh, you can play this game without playing the first game." I really don't agree with that. They spoil a lot of things. They throw out a lot of terms that you would not understand if you didn't play the original game, and I feel like the game just loses a lot of impact if you did not play the first game, since there's a lot of really good character moments that you just wouldn't get. There's a lot of like plot points you wouldn't get. So yeah, I really don't recommend playing this game if you have not played the first one. It definitely is a sequel, like just while being called a sequel. So do not play that. Do not play this first. But yeah, again, this game just surprised me how much extra like this game. They did not have to go as hard for this game as they did, but like everything was so good about it. Like the characters, the story, everything was just a Persona game, just with like a different combat system. And I'm just very impressed. Like this is probably the most impressed I've been from like just a stupid spin-off than I've ever been for anything. If you just told me this was Persona 5 too, I would have believed you. Like the two new characters you added, Zenkichi and Sophia, are both like really good additions to the crew as well. They don't feel like forced in. Like they don't feel like just like, hey, I'm like a movie character and I'm just here to like join you in your adventure for this one thing. Like they definitely do feel like they could appear in other games, and I wouldn't like be opposed to that, since they go through their whole arcs in this game as well, and they did them really well. I guess the only complaint I have is that maybe the story borrows a little too much from the original game, where there's a lot of similarities in its structure, but I think it does a good job sort of like doing that, but twisting it a little bit. So like it's kind of hard to explain without spoiling it. But I think it treads similar ground, but I think it's different enough to like be really enjoyable. And I think the story does start a little slow if you're not too invested into like anything, because it doesn't really pick up till like a little, like maybe like a few hours in. But once it does, it gets really interesting. And yeah, basically the game is just very freaking good. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. Obviously, I was gonna like it anyway because I love Persona, but I just didn't expect how much effort was put into this game. I was actually reading some of the interviews that came out last year, since the game actually came out last year and it came out over here, this year. And apparently this game took like 3 years to develop. Like usually like Warriors games are like pretty fast turnarounds, but this one like P Studio were really involved in making this game alongside with Omega Force. And it really shows. Again, the game just plays like a Persona game. Like all it needed was like social links and stuff, and we've been convinced at this point. Definitely if you're a fan of Persona, or I guess Persona 5 since it's a sequel to that, definitely get this. I definitely don't think it's just a dumb spin-off just to like as a cheap cash grab. Like there was definitely a lot of passion put into this, and I don't be surprised if you see this in like my top 3 favorite games, because it probably will be this year. Persona 5 being in my top like 5 games is like nothing new, but yeah, I was very impressed with this game, and you should get it. It's very good. And that's basically all I've been doing. I also watched Attack on Titan, obviously. I didn't watch the newest episode because I'm really bad at keeping up with more than one weekly show at a time, and WandaVision was kind of taking up all my time. But I watched the last 2 episodes, not the newest one, but the last 2 episodes, and they were really good. I thought they really did a good job explaining what's been going on. Obviously, I can't really say much, but you can't really say a lot, but they explained some things that have been going on like before certain events happened, and it's hard to explain, but it was very good. I think the show. I still love the show. There were 2 slower episodes. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," but like, dude, like they explain like, come on, like you can't have action literally all the freaking time. This is why I love Attack on Titan, because of all this like other stuff to it. So yeah, people could be babies, but I'm still loving Attack on Titan. Haven't watched the newest episode yet, but I will in the next podcast. But yeah, that's kind of all I've been doing, because I literally Persona 5 just took all my time. So yeah.
It's all good, man. All my recent activities has been anime, and when I do watch anime, it's like in between like assignments. So, Attack on Titan, I am caught up, but to not obviously spoil anything, like Damien said, it does explain a lot of things. Maybe not as clearly as people would want it, but it is explaining things. And you'll probably most likely get the full picture by the end of this season. And yeah, I'm very much enjoying it. And, to those monkey brain people that just want action, there's other shows out there like Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen is filled with action. And the last 2 episodes have been really, really good. And I can really see why people love this show. And the last couple of podcasts I've been like, Jujutsu Kaisen's all right, but now I'm like, yeah, I can see why people like it, but I'm still like not like 100% like this is like one of the best anime like of all time or whatever, or like does it even like deserve, I think one of the Crunchyroll awards that it won was like best anime of like 2020 or something like that, which is kind of crazy because it's not even done yet. Like the first season's not even done. So the fact that it won over like Beastars and a bunch of other shows that were actually like finished and complete, it's kind of crazy, but it is definitely on a lot of people's minds when it comes to normies and like obviously the anime community, because it's another shonen, and it's honestly a really good one. So the My Hero manga and stuff like that, the Vigilante, don't really have to say much about it other than it's a spinoff and it's still really good. I think that the way someone described it on Twitter trying to sell someone this manga is like, you just got to read it and like sort of see for yourself if you want to read a My Hero spinoff or not. The My Hero main manga, I've actually read a couple of chapters from like volume 21 or something like that. I forget exactly, but it's still expanding stuff, and I'm finding out what's going to happen in the next upcoming season, which I believe is going to be next anime season or whatever. This upcoming one.
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Season 5 of My Hero, so that's gonna be interesting. So hopefully I'll be able to maybe get a little bit ahead, because I know I have not been reading as much as I would like. Teasing Master Tagaki-san, I've definitely ranted about this way too long last episode. But pretty much it's a anime series about Tagaki-san and Nishikata, and they are middle schoolers, and she teases him all the goddamn time, and you sort of get each episode has like multiple different scenarios of them just, hanging out in her, sort of 500 IQ, or like Nishikata is just like stupid as hell trying to like, get on each other in terms of like wins as they will. Cause they play like a lot of like teasing games with each other, and that's sort of like the show of it. And then there's these other characters that you'll follow which will intertwine with them more so within season 2, which is only on Netflix, unfortunately. But yeah, I've rewatched season 2 because I said fuck it, why not? And it's still like 10 out of 10. I goddamn love these characters, man. But the anime's sort of in like limbo because of the way it ended. So the way it ended is not even like taken from the manga, and like the manga's still going and it's still like building up like their relationship. So we have no idea when we're gonna get more episodes of the anime, because it is definitely within a spot that like you kind of have to like go from there in like a way that you can't really like disregard what happens in the finale, if you will, which I did read some of. I went online and Google searched some chapters to read. I read some of like the newer chapters for the main series, but there's also another series where Tagaki-san is like all grown up and she had a kid with Nishikata, and I read like the first 2 chapters of that, and it's still cute and fucking adorable. So and then the last thing I've been doing is watching Wonder Egg Priority. So the reason why I watched this is because I watched the Anime Man's like monthly otaku thing, and if you know him, like he watches anime, and he was like, Wonder Egg Priority is like really fucking good, and like
I've been hearing that, yeah.
Yeah, so the clips that he showed in his video, he's like, this show is beautifully animated, which it is. And Cloverworks, like if you guys don't know who Cloverworks is, they did Promised Neverland season 1 and 2. So like you might be familiar with their work, but this is a brand new original anime series. Like this is not based on a manga. Like this is all
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, like this is all like original stuff. So when people are watching it, they have no idea like what's gonna happen next, because there are no manga readers when they watch this show. And it's really good. Like it is beautifully animated. The story that it's telling is definitely like a little all over the place. Like when you watch episode 1, it's gonna be like, what the fuck's going on? But I'm on like episode 5 now. That's the next episode I have to watch. Yeah. Episode 5 is the next one I have to watch, but so far so good. I'm very much liking these characters. I believe they're in like middle school or some shit like that, maybe high school. I can't exactly tell. But yeah, it's definitely, let me see the categories, because this is definitely like a weird sort of mixed genre that they're going with. It's a action, drama, fantasy, mystery, psychological thriller. Okay. So yeah, it's definitely like a lot going on. There is definitely action, there's definitely psychological pieces. When the sort of like tense moments happen and you hear like the music, it's sort of like I'm not exactly sure if I'm gonna be describing this properly, but it's sort of like dubstepy, and like when that shit happens, like I'm bumping. Like I don't normally like praise like music in like anime or like games even, but like the music in this show is like, it fits so well, and I am very much enjoying the show so far. The only downside of it is that it is locked behind Funimation. So if you want to watch this show, because I went on Crunchyroll and I was like, where is it? It's locked behind Funimation. So if you want to be caught up on it, you need to have a Funimation subscription. But if you want to watch like all of the episodes except for the latest one, all you need is a Funimation account, which is what I did. I sort of like resurrected my old Funimation account to watch this show, because you can't watch it without a account, because it is, I believe, rated TVMA, so they don't want random people just like watching it. But yeah, Wonder Egg Priority, it is definitely very interesting. If you're not like interested after watching the first episode, you can drop it, but definitely if you're like into like the sort of weirder shows like me, you should definitely give this a shot.
Yeah, I was definitely looking into this because I've been seeing a lot of praise for it, and I like that weird anime stuff. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll probably give it a try. I'm probably gonna wait until it's over and then probably just binge all of it. So yeah, that's probably my plan.
Yeah, that's probably a better idea, because I'm probably gonna be sitting around like waiting for like the next episode, because I'm not gonna fucking subscribe or whatever, so but yeah, it's definitely so far so good. So all right. Pokemon. Let's talk about Pokemon, because they did a little sort of presentation about the new games that they announced. First up, they re-showcased new Pokemon Snap, because that is coming out very soon, I believe next month.
Yeah.
April 30th. And then the two big announcements, which is pretty much what everyone's been talking about within the Pokemon community, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl, which are the Gen 4 remakes, and then Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is like a sort of open world, I guess. They didn't really give us too
Yeah.
much detail in terms of what's going on there, but yeah. So let's start with the Gen 4 remake. So I'll let you go first because you've actually played Gen 4. I have not touched Gen 4 like at all. So.
Okay, yeah. So I love Gen 4, right? Like obviously I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with Gen 3, but Gen 4 I probably put even more time in because you didn't need a stupid link cable. So I remember in like fifth grade I would just like battle like people because it was fun and like you didn't need a stupid link. So basically I have a lot of good memories to Diamond and Pearl, and this is the remake I was kind of looking forward to the most because
Mm-hmm.
Gen 4 does have a lot of issues, right? Like obviously the battle system is a really slow. I mean they fixed that in Platinum, so I kind of expected that problem to go away if they did a remake anyway, just because they would probably use whatever engine was, wherever that generation of Pokemon was in. So originally I thought this remake was gonna look like Sword and Shield, because that's what every remake looked like so far, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Gen Fire Red and Leaf Green looked like Emerald or Ruby and Sapphire, because that was that generation. Which was Gen 3, and then the Heart Gold Soul Silver looked like Gen 4 because it was based on that, and then the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire looked like X and Y because it was in that generation. So I was pretty safe to assume like, okay, the Diamond and Pearl remake is just gonna look like Sword and Shield, right? Well, I was
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It looks completely different, and it looks like a chibi stuff, and I don't mind that. I think a lot of people get like kind of confused, right? Because I don't like the chibi stuff is whatever. Like I'm okay with it. Like it's fine. It's just that the way the game looks in general just doesn't look great to me. Like just like I feel like there's no like it feels really flat is what I'm trying to say. Like all the environments and stuff. Like some shots look really good. Like there's one shot where you're gonna get like Drifloon or whatever, and like that shot looks pretty nice. But everything else looks kind of flat. Like the text looks really weird. There's like a close up of like Barry, which is your rival, and like his model just looks really weird too. I don't know. Like a lot of it just feels really flat, and I think that's because Pokemon's really scared of doing like outlines now. In the earlier 3DS games, every model had like a really thick outline to them, right? And I think it made the models look like a lot better. But ever since what was it? Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they like took out the outlines for some reason. And I just don't think it looks as good. And I think this game really suffers from that because it just looks really flat. Same thing, like if they just added some cell shading, I also think it would look a lot better as well. Uh, I think it would just pop out more. I think that's my major issue, right? Like, I have no problem with Chibi, right? Like, look at the
Mm-hmm.
Link's Awakening remake, right? Like, that Chibi is like, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it looks really good because, like, you could tell they put like a lot of polish into how the game looks. Like, there's like a lot of bloom. The game really pops up. Like, it looks great. Link's Awakening remake. This game's kind of trying to go for that too, but it just looks like a half-ass version of that. So I'm hoping it will get more polished later. Probably not, but I have a little more hope because this actually isn't developed by Game Freak itself.
Yep.
This is actually developed by the people who did Pokemon Home. So yeah, they don't really have a great. I mean, they don't have any track record because Pokemon Home is kind of just an app. So it's kind of interesting that they decided to put their trust in like a whole remake to like a company that probably never made a game before. I mean, there probably are some Game Freak people in there, but
Yeah.
point is, it's not made by Game Freak themselves because Game Freak usually would make every single Pokemon game, including a remake. So hopefully they listen to a little bit of feedback and polish up the game just a little bit. And another thing they said about the remakes is it's supposed to be really faithful, and you could see that a lot of the remakes of the other Pokemon games were pretty faithful, but they were like change up a lot of things, right? Like obviously Fire Red and Leaf Green are like takes a lot of things from Gen 3. Like there's abilities which weren't in the original Pokemon. A lot of quality of life adjustments, all that great stuff from Gen 3 went into Fire Red and Leaf Green. Same thing with Gen 4, and then same thing with I'm sorry, Gen 2 remakes, and same thing with the Gen 3 remakes.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks like it's going to straight up just be a faithful remake of Diamond and Pearl, which I kind of don't want, because if that means HMs are going to be a thing again, that's going to suck, because I think one of the biggest weaknesses of Gen 4 was the overabundance of HMs. And if you're a newer fan of Pokemon, you probably don't know what HMs are anymore. Well, basically, there were really annoying things where they're like field moves, right? So you put on a Pokemon, you can't take it out unless you talk to a move deleter, which is usually in a pretty end game town, is when you can actually remove a move from an HM like Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So usually what you would do is get something called an HM slave, right? So that would be Bidoof in Gen 4. He's a very famous HM slave. So you will equip him with like strength, surf, whatever you need, and then he takes up a slot in your party like always. Because Gen 4 is notorious for having so many goddamn HMs. There are, I think, like 8 of them. Like the two that are really annoying me are Rock Climb and Defog. Defog especially. What a stupid HM. Like for no reason, it's just there. So I'm hoping they don't bring those back. I'm hoping they bring back what they had in Sun and Moon, where you could just bring a Pokemon. It's sort of like just like I forgot what it was. You just like equip the Pokemon, but it doesn't take a slot in your inventory. It just like does the HM puzzle. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I want. I don't want to go back to HMs because they suck. um, and yeah, basically, I kind of wanted it to just see this world through like a more modern setting. Seeing it just basically look like Diamond and Pearl, just like a little HD is kind of disappointing to me. Because all the other remakes look like really good compared to the original games. This one, I'm like, I might as well just play the DS versions. Like I know I might be being a little too harsh on it. And I definitely calmed down when I first see this. I was really, but now I've definitely calmed down a bit. I'm like, it's whatever. And hopefully they actually bring in a bunch of content from Platinum as well. Because if they're going to charge this for 60 with like no Battle Frontier, which was in Platinum, or none of the extra content they did in Platinum and stuff, that would be really lame. And I think they will do that because, of course, it's Pokemon Company and they like just stealing your money. So yeah, hopefully I can't really say anything yet because we don't know a lot of details besides this is happening. And how the game looks. Like I don't know all the details yet. Once more details come in, I will judge my anger based on that. Like if the game is straight up just Diamond and Pearl, like with like no Platinum stuff, no Battle Frontier or anything like that, then I'll be a little mad. But right now I'm just like it's whatever. I wish it looks a little better. I know people are hyped for it, but as someone that really likes Gen 4, it feels just a little disappointing to me. But that's just how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who has not played Gen 4 yet, I'm kind of excited to try this out. I mean, I was watching Shofu react to it because I was just like, well, I don't normally watch like these Pokemon things like live, but I was like, Shofu's streaming. Let me just go and see what he's, talking about. And like when the Chibi Dawn character popped up, they were all laughing. I was like, bro, no way. I mean, personally, like I didn't mind it. I love Chibi art style, so I'm not like too against it. But I could definitely see your criticism in terms of being that like it's kind of lazy. It's like super duper faithful to the original in terms of like how it looks, how it sort of animates and all that stuff. And maybe there is something that it needs to pop out with, maybe outlines, maybe shell shading. But yeah, I'm very much like looking forward to this because Gen 4 has always been the generation that our generation sort of like grew up on and sort of played a lot, but I just like never played it. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I do hope that they do make some changes to it to maybe have it stand out a little bit more because my favorite Pokemon game personally is Soul Silver, and I've never played the original Gold and Silver, but just playing that remake and how that remake was done was like very, very good, and I love those Pokemon. And Gen 4's Pokemon I'm very much familiar with as well, just because I watched the anime and all that stuff when I was younger, and I know a lot of the Pokemon, but HM slaves and all that other stuff, I feel like that should probably be something that should be like fixed or left out or whatever because
Never
these
bring them
people
back.
yeah
I hate HM slaves.
Elka, which stands for I Love Computer Art, the people that worked on Pokemon Home, they're making this, which is something that I think a lot of people are very interested in to see exactly how well this does, because this is the first time that Game Freak has handed off the main series Pokemon stuff to someone else. Like Game Freak has been behind literally everything Pokemon related, and I believe Mr. Masuda is still directing this game, so he's probably trying to make sure that this isn't gonna look too far off from the originals, or maybe he's the one that's sort of like making sure that it is sort of to the T what the originals were, which hopefully maybe he'll loosen up on that. Obviously, like this is all speculation, but yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. I do hope that they do improve on it because just seeing exactly how lazy Game Freak was with the last Pokemon games, Sword and Shield, this is obviously a new developer, but still with Mr. Masuda behind the helm as a director. I do hope that this does have some sort of flair and some sort of pop to it, if you will.
Right. Like, I mean, again, it is cool they are adding like all the old things from like they actually have the underground mini game, which was sort of like a thing where you could like transport anywhere underground by like tapping the bottom screen in the original game, and then you could sort of like mine for like stuff and get a bunch of items. That I spent so many hours doing that, and I saw it was in the trailer. I'm like, that's pretty cool. There's also like the Union Room for some reason, which was like the old wireless thing where you would connect to other people. Really weird that that's there, not like a more modern online thing, but whatever. So yeah, that's the things that get me nervous because it does seem like it's gonna be very faithful, which again, it's gonna be super nostalgic for me, but also like, you know, I kind of wish it was a little more ambitious than it is, but we're gonna have to wait for details and see like what extra content they're also gonna add to this game. Because again, these are $60 games now. Like it's kind of hard to be like more lenient with them because they were only $40 on the 3DS, but now they're like these are $60 games, so I better expect some more content than just whatever the base Diamond and Pearl had. So yeah, I mean, I'm still looking forward to it because again, I love Gen 4, and I do kind of miss the OG Pokemon design, so it's gonna be nice to go back to how the games used to be. But still, it's gonna be interesting to play through this remake again. Also, BDSP is really close to BDSM, so I'm glad they didn't go to that. So, but yeah, I guess we could talk about the next thing unless you have anything else to say about the Gen 4 remakes.
No, we could talk about Pokemon Arceus, right?
Yeah, so Pokemon Legends Arceus. So this is really cool and we're so okay. So I'm very happy that this is a step in the right direction, right? Like Pokemon has always been the same since forever, right? Like there's always been like the towns and the gym leaders and all that stuff. And you know, we never really had anything more ambitious than that. And I think that's the reason why people are very salty about Sword and Shield was because, you know, that was the opportunity to go really big. Because you know, you're on the Switch now, you could do more things now that you're on like better hardware than just like a portable thing. But, you know, obviously Game Freak didn't do that and decided to go the safe route, and it was kind of just a standard Pokemon game. Obviously, you had the wild areas, and I think the DLCs do make up for that. Like I was saying when I was talking about the DLCs of Sword and Shield, I think those DLCs really opened up the game to like, yeah, this is kind of what I want for the next Pokemon game, and it kind of seems to go in that direction with Arceus. Well, I'm just gonna call it Pokemon Legends. For Pokemon Legends. But from what we've seen, it does look very rough. You know, obviously, the gameplay they showed us was, you know, it was super framey, very, very framey. You know, like there was like a one with a Chimecho, like the pre-evolution of Chimecho, and it looked like it was just wanting to die because its frames were like dying. I'm like, oh man. But it looked really cool. You know, like going a whole open world. I mean, it looks like there's nothing to do in that open world. So hopefully there's actually things to do except catch and fight Pokemon. But from what they showed, it is the step in the right direction. What I want. Even when you go into a battle, it looks like there's no battle transition. You kind of just stand right next to your Pokemon, and then you fight the wild Pokemon. And then when the Pokemon hits, you actually see them hit the other Pokemon, and that's really cool. You know, we never really had that in the other 3D Pokemon games, so it definitely looks like it's aiming for what people want it to be. You could even have like a dodge roll for some reason. I think Pokemon can like hit you like your trainer, which is kind of cool. You can also just throw Pokeballs just out in the wild and stuff without being in a battle. So again, definitely these are all steps in the right direction. It's just like hopefully they could do it. You know what I mean? Like from what they showed us, the open world looks very empty. Again, the frame rate looks like a big issue. So yeah, we just again it's another wait and see game with this game because we don't know how the structure is going to be, especially with no gym leaders or anything. Like, I don't know how the game is going to operate. Is it going to work just like more of a standard JRPG? Is it going to work like Breath of the Wild where you kind of just do whatever you want and maybe there's like an end game thing you could do? Like I'm not too sure. Or is the game just like literally just a giant wild area where you just catch Pokemon and fill the Pokedex? Like I think that would be pretty lame because that seems to be the major point of the game where the trailer is like, oh, fill out the first Pokedex or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but I hope that's not the only thing you do. So yeah, definitely steps in the right direction, but it still looks pretty rough. And but again, I'm happy they're finally breaking the formula because this is when we would get a next generation. You know, we would be seeing things for Pokemon Gen 9 at this point, but they're not doing that, which is pretty impressive because, you know, the whole Pokemon machine is really reliant on new generations so they could sell more toys, make a new anime, new trading cards, you know what I mean? So it kind of means a lot that they're actually stepping away from that to make like an actual video game that's not just like, feels like it's just a drive for marketability, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely steps in the right direction from this game.
And you know, definitely picking the trio of Cyndaquil, Oshawott, and Rowlet was definitely a good choice. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
All good Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely interesting because, you know, Rowlet's definitely super duper new. So But yeah, them stepping outside of the whole, next gen, to sort of make new cards, anime, all that other stuff. I'm going to assume that they're doing this to bring back older fans and sort of have that nostalgia while at the same time having this Diamond and Pearl remake. So that is kind of cool. And the whole concept of a open world Pokemon game has always been on the minds of people, and I think that the fact that they're finally stepping into that, despite how rough it looks, it is definitely no clean edges as far as I could tell. The frames are all over the place. The graphics are not all there. This is definitely something that I hope they take their time with, because this is supposed to come out sometime early next year. So
yeah, early next year. Yeah.
We could be within that time frame where it could be out a year from now, but if it comes out a year from now and it still looks like the way it does, that's going to be very concerning. And, obviously a lot of backlash, but people are probably still going to buy it because the Pokemon fans are Pokemon fans.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say anything. I'm going to buy both of these games day one because I look, I have an issue. All right. Pokemon has to be in Stockholm Syndrome. I know they do. That's just how it is. The only time I resisted was Sword and Shield for like a month, and then I bought it anyway for full price. So like, I know they got me, but, it is good to see that they are trying new things again. It's definitely what we wanted. We just gotta see if Game Freak has the effort or talent to do this. Because if I learned anything, I don't think Game Freak have very good developers on there. So it's like everything feels like all the gameplay designs are like straight up from the 90s. So like hopefully this game could really bring them into like a new league. But from what we've seen, I'm not too sure. But again, I'm optimistic that it could be good for both of these games. Honestly, even though I was crapping a bit on the Diamond and Pearl remake, I also hope they're good. Because if it means that Game Freak could divvy up the work between like another developer, I think that'd be pretty neat as well. So, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely Game Freak. If you think Nintendo's behind on stuff, Game Freak's just still making the same games that they were making since they started, So them stepping out of their comfort zone to make this is very interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to see on how Arceus plays into this, because, this is about, a old town or whatever, and, there's an actual story to sort of coincide with this game.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like all the way back before Sinnoh was like a region or something, or before Sinnoh was like populated. I think that's good. We're basically getting like two Sinnoh remakes if you think about it, which is pretty neat because I really like Sinnoh as a region as well. So seeing like Mount Coronet in the background as like an actual really big mountain, because you couldn't really see it when it was like top down as a in Diamond and Pearl. I think that's really neat seeing it like being so big, and just seeing Arceus as well, since Arceus actually did have an event in Diamond and Pearl, but I don't think it was ever released for America. The only reason I was able to play it was because I had an action replay, so I was able to cheat in the event item to fight Arceus, which was really neat. But yeah, it's cool to see him have his own game. And I actually like to keep giving these mythic Pokemon like their own events now. Like when you fought Deoxys and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I thought that was really neat. And now being able to have Arceus as like a major like Pokemon, I think that's also really cool, since he's kind of never been a thing. He's always just been like just a Pokemon you get in events. So kind of neat to see him as like a full like thing in this. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have one more point. Also, this is also really cool. There's no other version. It's just one Pokemon Legends. There's no two versions. That's really neat. Again, that's even more innovative than just being like an open world Pokemon game. They're not doubling down on like the greediness. Like, let's have two versions. Like, I think that's really cool. Honestly, like they're just selling one game. I mean, hopefully they don't announce another version. But yeah, it's just Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think that's really cool. So yeah, definitely all steps in the right direction. We just gotta see how the games actually like come out. So
Yeah, as a person that has not been, following Pokemon all that much since X and Y, because X and Y did leave a bad taste in my mouth, but I understand that some people actually did like X and Y and they were able to, explore the other Pokemon games that would come out later in the future or go back and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm very much looking forward to these two games in particular, obviously with Brilliant Diamond as a game that, I sort of missed out on when I was growing up, and with Legends Arceus as a open world Pokemon game as it sort of looks like right now. I wonder what the storyline and what the plot's going to be to sort of advance that, and how the travel mechanics and everything like that, because open world games have been pretty much done to death at this point, but a Pokemon open world game has not been sort of executed yet. So
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see if they can actually like pull off an engaging open world. I mean, judging from the wild areas, probably not, because I think the wild areas they're really neat, and the best part about Sword and Shield, but even then they're super bare bones in terms of open world games. Even on the Switch, like compared to like Breath of the Wild or Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like it pales in comparison to both of those games. So hopefully they take the lessons they learned from the wild areas and maybe like from the other games that are on the Switch and make something really special. Again, I doubt it. I'm gonna remain a little pessimistic about all this, but I also want to be optimistic about it. So the only way we can see is when it comes out. And again, I'm gonna buy it anyways, so it's not like it matters. But yeah, definitely happy that Game Freak is finally trying something new. They're finally breaking out of their cycles. We could finally see like what they could do to make an actual good video game. So yeah, because Pokemon has been stale for a very long time. I mean, I really like Sun and Moon, but I feel like that was really the only good 3D Pokemon game so far. So yeah, hopefully they could break out and like this Pokemon Legends Arceus could be like a start of a new thing for them and like a new like they could finally get away from like the cycle that they've been plagued by for like 20 years or something. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to both of these games. So let's move on to the PlayStation State of Play. So overall thoughts on the event, it's a state of play. You're not really gonna expect much, to be honest, because state of plays have not been all that good so far, unless they're sort of like, I guess, E3 dedicated. But this is just like a random state of play that they announced, and the games that they did announce. I think the last one Damien's probably very, very, very excited about.
Yes, I am.
But there were definitely some in here that I was like, yeah, like Crash 4, sort of getting a spotlight about what's it called, the PlayStation 5 sort of
Upgrade.
Yep, upgrade. And then Returnal getting a sort of spotlight as well. I thought that was pretty cool.
I hope that game is good.
Yeah, I hope that game is good too, because I know that there are definitely a large number of people that are into those sort of games, and they're definitely having their eyes on that. The FNAF game was definitely very funny, because the moment I saw it, I was like, this is a FNAF game, isn't it? And it was. But it definitely looks different from the other FNAF games, I would assume, because...
Yeah, it looks like it has a budget.
This one actually has a budget, and you're not sort of locked in a room or whatever. You're actually exploring the facility, if you will. And then the last one I quickly want to touch on is Kena, Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah.
So my heart is broken, because this game is supposed to come out this month and it got delayed to August, but it is what it is. And the game still looks good. I am very much excited for this game, because I believe it is a sort of open world platformer, if I can...
I think so. I thought it was supposed to be more like an adventure game, like a Zelda or something. I'm actually not too sure what it is, but it looks really good. Like when they were showing it, I know this gets memed on all the time. Like whenever you say, "Oh, this game looks like a Pixar," like, it straight up looks like DreamWorks or Pixar made this freaking game. Like it looks beautiful, man. Like this is probably like the most beautiful game I've seen. Like it's very, very pretty. I just hope that it's not all style. I hope the gameplay is also pretty good. And interestingly enough, this game is actually only $40. I actually checked on the PS5 store. This is not a full price game, so it's even better. So it's like, it's probably gonna be shorter, but that's okay. We don't need every game. Not every game has to be like 30 hours long, so that's fine. So yeah, that's cool. That's like $40, and it looks like a really solid, like sort of like action platformer, whatever it's supposed to be. But yeah, obviously we were both pretty interested in this game the moment they showed it, and it just continues to impress me. So hopefully, obviously it sucks that I got delayed so far away, but when it does come out, I will definitely happily play it if it's good.
Yeah, I will definitely be playing that, because at that point school's not going to start yet, I hope. So hopefully I'll be able to, when it comes out August 24th, I believe I said. Yeah, August 24th. And it is $40. It's the same price on the Epic Game Store. So that is very, very cool. That is not a full price game, because I'm sure that they know that people are not going to spend $60, $70 on this game. They're probably going to spend very much within this price range. And I hope that because of this price, it does well, because I've seen other platformers games sort of stick to this price point and it doesn't do well. For example, Sly 4. Unfortunately, when that game came out towards the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle, it was priced at a very affordable price at $40, but not a lot of people bought it.
Dude, Sly 4 came out at such a wrong time, because I feel like that was still the point where platformers were kind of getting shitted on. Like obviously Ratchet was doing okay, but everything else was kind of just like, there wasn't like a big resurgence. I think now, like if Sly 4 were to come out now, I think it would have done a lot better. I think it was just like the timing it came out. I like Sly 4. But Yeah, and I guess the last thing I could talk about is Final Fantasy VII Integrate. So obviously, I guess my full thoughts on the state of play was like, it's a state of play, like like you said, like it's whatever. These are all games we knew about. It's cool to see them get like more like release dates and see more gameplay. That's fine. But no, it was a very like 5 out of 10. I didn't really care. Even when they were showing Final Fantasy VII, I was just like, oh yeah, it's the PS5 upgrade that we were kind of just expecting at this point. So whatever. But then they showed Yuffie out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh wait, what's this? I paused a bit because I didn't know what was going on. So yeah, apparently, Final Fantasy VII Integrate is more than just a PS5 upgrade. It's that, but it's also releasing like a episode Yuffie, which is like DLC to sort of like tide you over until Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 comes out, and it looks great. I don't think it's gonna be very long. Obviously, it's probably gonna be like, I'm guessing maybe like 2-3 hours, but it's cool to see like how Yuffie would play in the sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and sort of just get more story and stuff, and just see how she would interact with people. And I love Yuffie. I used her in the original, in my original 7 team, so it's gonna be cool to like play her in like the 7 Remake gameplay style. And yeah, it just looks great, and it's coming out June 10th, a day before Ratchet and Clank, so it better be short, because I'm gonna drop everything Ratchet and Clank. But yeah, I'm very excited. But the thing that got people a little peeved is that Yuffie, or episode Yuffie, is only for PS5 players. You can only play that if you have a PS5. I know people are very, very pissy about that, which is understandable. I think the DLC should definitely be playable for people without a PS5. Obviously, it doesn't bother me because I have a PS5, but for a lot of other people, I could definitely understand why that would be a big bummer. And this, I think Square says, because they're like, this is more in line with what they want Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 to be like. That's a mouthful, but yeah. So that, I guess that makes sense, but yeah, that kind of sucks for people that want to play this DLC without spending like $500 for it. So yeah, and just to find a PS5 is really hard to find.
Yeah, and I hear that this remake's gonna be like $70 or something like that.
Oh yeah,
new version.
It's yeah, so it's 70 because that if you buy this version on PS5, you get episode Yuffie. So basically, they're adding that onto whatever the $60 price point was. Like if I transfer my save and all my stuff to the PS5 version, I don't get episode Yuffie. So I think that it's gonna be like $10 for that. That's why it's $70. So they're doing the like that cheap thing was like, okay, it's $70, but we're adding this to it. So yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, third-party titles doing the $70 price point is a little iffy, but, if you're a huge Final Fantasy VII fan and you really want to play this remake, especially episode Yuffie, you're probably going to pull the trigger or use that free upgrade, I believe, that they're offering.
Yeah, yeah, I don't, like, how pay, if I have it already, I don't pay $70. I just pay, like, the DLC prices, so.
Yeah, so definitely, some pro consumers, some not, because it is locked behind the PlayStation 5. So, yeah. But yeah, definitely something that Final Fantasy fans were very, very much excited about, which is very cool because, this game definitely made a huge splash last year in terms of, people having it in terms of like their top 5, top 1, favorite games of last year. And then there were some other games from the State of Play, like Solar Ash. This was like the fast-paced sort of like platformer game that was very interesting.
It's the people who made freaking, what is it called? Oh no! Wait, it was in my head and I lost it. Hyper Life Drifter. Yeah. Hyper Life Drifter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks really good. It looks like a fast platformer where you're like skating around. It really interests me when they showed it during the first like PS5 thing. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that game.
Yeah, and then Sifu. This was another sort of indie game with like the I guess the kung fu or whatever. I guess when you die, you become older. I didn't.
Yeah, really
know
weird mechanic. I
didn't know that was a mechanic until afterwards when our friend Louis told me that. I was like, wait, what? I thought he was just like getting older for like the story's sake, but I guess when you die, like that happens. But it looks very flashy, and I like that. So,
it definitely looks cool as well.
Definitely has a very Dreamcast sort of like art style.
Polygonal,
I definitely like the cell shading as well. I'm very much a fan of that. So, but yeah, overall, the State of Play is whatever. I mean, like people who expect like big, like huge announcements like Spider-Man 2, God of War 2. I'm like, y'all need to like chill out because it's probably not gonna happen. But I'll let you do your thing and then get mad on Twitter afterwards. But
yeah. We never get that with state of plays.
Yeah. Until one happens that is like super hype, then I can understand. But even then, make sure your expectations are grounded, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing we are going to discuss is WandaVision, and we're gonna discuss spoilers. So if you haven't seen all of WandaVision, go do that. Especially if you're a huge MCU person. This show does a lot of great things and a lot of interesting things, and I think it all wraps up well together by the end of it.
Yeah.
All right, so spoilers. So what'd you think of the second to last episode before we get to the finale, or did we already talk about that? I forget.
I think we talked about it. Did we talk about it?
Oh,
did we not? We didn't talk about it.
I don't think we did because what's it called?
We didn't. We didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay,
forget.
so that's.
Forget what happened in that episode. So give me a second to try to refresh myself as I click through the episode. So what happened on this one? I'm sure it was just more, oh, okay. So at this point within the show, they like ditched the whole sort of gimmick of the whole like TV thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This was the episode where they pretty much fleshed out Wanda's character and she sort of went through like her
right.
life and sort of her upbringing and how she became who she was today and why sitcoms were a big part of this show and everything like that. And people love this episode. And despite us forgetting about it,
It was very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I definitely like this episode as well, just because it gave us more time to see Wanda, like as a character within the MCU, because a lot of her character isn't really shown within the movies. It's mainly focused on, the main three, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. When Wanda's on screen, it's very much like she's a side character, So I'm glad that we got to see more of her past and more of her upbringing and sort of seeing where she stands and also the truth behind her, quote unquote, stealing Vision's body, because she didn't do that. When she created the world of Westview that she saw, or that she, I guess, created, she just created a vision that, was within her mind and within her heart, if you will.
Well, yeah. Also, because what they also touched upon was that she was always like a witch. Like her powers weren't like from like the experiments. Like she always had that power of the witch in her. And when she went to like interact with the Mind Stone, apparently that just like awoken to her power fully, and she was able to like use it. And I guess because she has some of the Mind Stone in her, she was able to like resurrect Vision in a way. You know what I mean? Like that's why that Vision was more like than just like some weird not clone or whatever, but like he had more sentience just because it was like the part of the Mind Stone was also in Vision. So I guess that's why his like subconscious version of him was like that. It's hard to explain, but yeah, that's what I'm guessing was happening there. But it was pretty interesting to see that Wanda was always like, I guess, the Scarlet Witch, and like the Infinity Stone was the thing that really like awoken her to that power. You know what I mean? So.
And
because it wasn't very clear, yeah. So.
Yeah. And obviously, because this is a weekly show, people have theories, and because of that, people were like, oh, like this and that happened. And when we finally get to this episode and get to see like the sort of truth behind everything, and seeing that, oh, like Wanda didn't steal Vision's body, but she, when she went to that spot with where they were supposed to grow old together, and she sort of, I guess, lost it, and all of her grief sort of came out. It all makes sense now, and I'm very, very glad that everything sort of came around. Like everything made sense. Like they had a plan. They actually thought everything through, and it was done well. So
yeah, I also think so. Like I think they went into like what like Wanda's thing is. And also, I also thought, cause I think it was that episode too where she went to see like Vision's body, and I think we all thought that Vision was just like his reanimated corpse, right? Like that's what everyone thought, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
She just kind of just drove home, or not drove home, but drove to Westview into that like plot where like you just said, where where they want to grow old together and stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting that she didn't take his body, and then she just made that Westview just with her powers and stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think it ends with showing that weird Vision, like the fake Vision, or I guess it's actually Vision, just like a different form of him, where he's like all white and stuff. I believe it ends like that. but yeah, it was cool to see Wanda's past because again, she's usually shown as like a side character, so it's cool to see her get like the full attention, like how fleshed out they made her. Same thing with Vision as well, because again, I didn't think Vision was that strong of a character for like any of the MCU until this
Mm-hmm.
series. I think they did a good job fleshing him out as well, making him very likable, and like yeah, I just thought it was a really well done episode. It really goes into like all Wanda's stuff. So yeah, very very good episode.
Yeah, it's almost like the show's called WandaVision, guys.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good
But yeah,
point.
definitely, despite us forgetting about it, it was definitely a very good episode. And then the last one that came out today, a lot of people love it, and people have been saying that, now like WandaVision is like within like their top three, maybe even like top one things within the MCU, which I can understand. Maybe I would have to like rewatch the show to sort of, see everything and sort of, now that I know everything, sort of contextualize, contextualize everything that has happened so far,
Hmm.
because this series finale, which is what it's called, wraps everything up together.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like hard to talk about this episode because most of it's like fighting, right? Like we kind of got all the
Mm-hmm.
answers already, so it's like just fight. Let's have our fight scene now, and it was really good. It really shows like how much money Disney's putting into this show, and like how much like I mean, we probably already noticed that with Mandalorian, where like some scenes are like, man, this could have just been in a movie. But WandaVision really shows like yeah, like Disney is really going in for these Disney Plus shows, and it really shows because if you just told me this was from an MCU movie, I would have believed you. It was just cool seeing them fight and like Wanda couldn't really do much to Agatha because she was kind of just absorbing her blows anyway. And it's
Mm-hmm.
cool just seeing her like outsmart her, learning that about like the runes and stuff, and she put that all around Westview so she couldn't cast her magic. It was just a really good fight scene, and it was also cool to see the two Visions fight as well.
Yeah.
Just like fighting each other, and like they didn't, a very Vision way to end a fight is to just like talk about it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something they would do. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it ended up with Vision like giving, or I guess awaken, like his, well, okay, so that fake Vision awoken actual Vision's memories because they weren't really ever gone, I guess. Like just because he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the Mind Stone doesn't mean like he didn't remember all these different things. It kind of just hid his memories away from him when they like rebuilt him, which makes sense because they didn't want their like war machine going crazy and stuff. So yeah, that probably makes sense. But now that Vision now is the real Vision again. So yeah, that if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably are gonna see him later down the road try and look for Wanda at some point. And of course, I guess the big thing is that Wanda like fully embraced her like Scarlet Witch persona because
Mm-hmm.
that's what she is. So that was pretty interesting to see as well. Um, I don't know if you have anything if you want to say
Yeah,
something.
I mean, her finally being able to like let go of these people of Westview. That whole scene with
Oh yeah,
the citizens being like, "Please, please, just let me go." I'm like,
yeah.
bro,
Uh,
this is like her
yeah,
like
there was
finally facing everything.
And they were so extra. They were just like, "Yo, if you're not gonna let us go, at least let us die." I'm like, "Damn,
Oh
bro!"
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
was
"Holy
like, man,
shit!"
this is getting real dark. But yeah, I mean, before then, I believe Wanda like actually didn't know the pain that she was causing to these
Yeah.
civilians, as far as I can remember. Both of our memories is not on point, but like before this, when we would see civilians sort of like realize what's going on and be like, please help me, please help me, it was always through the lens of Vision, I believe, or like other
Hmm.
characters. So having Wanda finally see that was obviously a wake-up call for her, because she's like, I'm not the villain, but like she actually was, and her finally sort of seeing that was very cool. And I'm glad that that was sort of a what's it called, a point of them to sort of turn to within this show, and sort of happen within the last episode, which is better time than never.
Yeah, I also agree with that because I think it would have been messed up if they didn't like obviously Wanda has a lot of tragedy going on. And it's not like really her fault that all this was really happening, but it still kind of was. So it's cool that they made her kind of face the music with all these people being like, "Why did you hurt us? Like, I want to see my daughter," and stuff like that. So it's cool to see her kind of like face like what she's done to these people just because she was having like a mental breakdown.
Hmm.
Again, not her fault or anything like that, but it still kind of is because she kind of involved all these people into her stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that as well. Like it wasn't just like a plot point to just have all these people and they return to normal. Like Wanda actually had to face these people and stuff. So I thought that was pretty neat as well. And yeah, it was also like messed up when she finally came to her senses and like the hex was growing smaller. And
Hmm.
she just like they just put the kids to sleep and say their
Oh my
goodbyes,
god,
even
yeah,
knowing they're gonna
yeah,
die. I'm like, oh my
yeah.
god, bro, like Jesus, this is messed up.
Hmm.
Like, jeez, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what happens when create this world and you now have to let go of it. And her finally doing that obviously is a full character arc, if you will. And yeah, I was just like, God damn, like kids, do not look out the window. Y'all about to eat dust like real quick.
Yeah, but don't feel so good anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, really enjoyed this finale just because, like I said, many, many times, it just wraps everything up very, very nicely.
Mhm.
And what else about this episode I liked? The whole Vision thing, we're probably going to see him later within the
Oh yeah,
movies
we're
or
definitely gonna
whatever.
see him again. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, and, people are now realizing, oh man, we got to wait a whole year to see Wanda again because that's when Doctor Strange 2 comes out, which is going to be very, a long time, obviously, but 2020 went by pretty fast, so hopefully 2021 can do the same, but not in the same way. If you get my drift.
Right.
What's it called?
Oh, I
What
guess the
else?
Quicksilver thing, right? Like,
Okay, yeah. So like people's like theories and all of this other stuff like not coming true because MCU's MCU. Yeah, Quicksilver being Ralph Boner. I mean, I
fucking
mean, I
dumb.
just thought that was just like, man, like that's just such like an MCU thing, them to be like Ralph Boner, and he's like, haha, Boner. I was like, okay, like, like I was laughing just because like it was just like that stupid, but
Yeah.
like people who are like, like angry typing on Twitter, like super duper upset about it, like I get it, but like it's not gonna change anything because it
Yeah.
already happened.
I also hate when people like, oh, my theory wasn't right, so the writer sucked. I'm like, that, like, why? Like, it could have just been a nice Easter egg. Like, we probably are gonna see some
Hmm.
multi-dimension stuff at some point, but like, I just don't get when people get mad that the theory is wrong. Like, it was just a theory, right? Like, it wasn't like what you're guessing wasn't gonna be always what was gonna happen. Like, it was fine. That was just some stupid joke or whatever, and just like an Easter egg basically, or I guess like just a reference to like the old Quicksilver. But
Hmm.
that's all it was. Like, that's fine. Like, it didn't have to be anything more than that. Um, but yeah, it was funny anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed at it. I'm sure that they're gonna bring up the whole, Doctor Strange 2 is gonna be the multiverse, so they're probably gonna bring up maybe, the old X-Men movies. That's what people were hoping to, sort of bridge it all together with this show. But
Yeah.
obviously, like that didn't happen. Maybe it is too soon for them. Maybe they actually, guys, the MCU, they got a plan. Like they know what they're doing. Despite them, not going according to their plan originally, where they wanted the show to come out sometime in the spring of this year because of everything that's been going on. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what timeline that they want to show and sort of give to the audience. So yeah, theories not coming to true. I forget what the main villain that people were theorizing. It started with the M, but like him not being in the show is whatever to me because that's not something that I 100% bought into, and I'm sure that a lot of people that were like theorizing themselves or like watching theory videos and all this other stuff, it is what it is. But yeah, obviously, MCU doing stuff that isn't according to the comics is not a new thing. Iron Man 3 did this with the goddamn, I forget.
Yeah. The what's his name?
Yeah,
I was
the
I was just
main
the
bad guy.
yeah, I was gonna say the Mandalorian. No, what's his name? It starts with M.
uh, Screw it. But yeah,
Yeah.
what they did with Iron
Yeah,
Man
people were mad
3.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people were upset about that, and I get it. It's not like the comics, but then again, you don't have to be like the comics to sort of, meet the quota of what you're trying to go for. And I thought that, and I still think Iron Man 3 is the best Iron Man movie, and I will die on that hill gratefully. But yeah, overall, I think that WandaVision is definitely one of the better parts of the MCU, and I think a lot better than that people expected it because it was advertised as like a sort of sitcom, and that is part of the show, but that's not all of it. So
Yeah, it was only really the first like half, and then it starts going to like the plot and stuff. But yeah, like overall, I thought the show was fantastic. Like the future like Disney Plus is actually looking really good. Again, with the Mandalorian and now this show, it really shows that Disney again is putting a lot of money into these productions, and they could really tell a good story. If anything, I think they could tell better stories in a more in a TV show format than than a movie format, just because in a movie obviously it has to be shorter than a TV show, so you could like go into more stuff into like the actual show. So especially for a show like this, which is more meant to be like a deep dive into Wanda's like psyche and stuff, I think that works more as a TV show rather than a movie. In my opinion anyway. Also, it works well
Mm-hmm.
because of the whole sitcom thing, right? Like, I think that was a very clever way to make that fit into a TV show. It's like, okay, we could just have the whole thing be like a TV show, right? Like, I thought that was very clever as well. So yeah, but just a very creative show. Like, really cool to see Wanda and Vision get like a lot more screen time, obviously, because again, yeah, it's called WandaVision. But and it's cool to see just like what the hints are for the future. And I guess we could talk about the two post credit scenes as well.
Yeah, the first one was I guess
Captain
leading
Marvel
into
stuff.
yeah, Captain Marvel stuff. It could
Yeah.
lead into the Nick Fury show. I'm assuming this is connecting to Captain Marvel too.
Right. I never watched Captain Marvel. I just know about like the weird goblin people. Like, I think that's the only thing I know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Captain Marvel and like Ant-Man 2 are the only ones that like I haven't watched yet. But
Yeah, they're called the Skrulls because I definitely forgot and how to Google it. But yeah,
okay.
the Skrulls are the weird alien people, and I was like, oh, okay, it's those weird alien people from Captain Marvel. So it obviously is going to connect to Captain Marvel too. So.
Right, and then the last actual end credits one, it just shows like Wanda is just living up in a mountain somewhere, obviously probably in hiding because I don't think a lot of people want to see her at this point. And, and she probably wants to be left alone as well. But
Mhm.
it goes more in, and she looks like she's like reading that like dark book or whatever that Agatha was having or something, and it
Mhm.
looks like she's gonna go more into like how to use her like like chaos magic or whatever. So obviously that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. Like I don't know if
Mhm.
Wanda is going off the deep end and she's just gonna be like a Scarlet Witch or whatever, or she's gonna use that for good. I'm not too sure yet. I think that's just pretty interesting though. It's gonna like I really want to see, Doctor Strange and like Wanda like do a thing now. You know what I mean? Like either like fight or team up or something, since obviously Doctor Strange knows all about magic and Wanda didn't really know about her magic till now. She was always just
Mhm.
kind of just used it, you know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting to see how much, even because Wanda was very powerful, but seeing her with like knowing how to use her magic, that's gonna be some cool stuff. So really looking forward to Doctor Strange 2 now that Wanda is like basically like full on Scarlet Witch now. So I think that's gonna be really neat.
Mm-hmm. Because now we got all this character development thanks to the show. So,
Hmm.
yeah, overall, very, very good stuff. I'm very much happy with how the show turned out, especially since because I think a lot of people like us came into it with like no real expectations. It's like, oh, it's like an MCU thing. And then, at first it's, a sitcom. And then like they start putting in like these little, I guess, Easter eggs or, sort of hints at like, there's like something else going on here. So I'm glad that, it all came around by the end of the 9th episode. And 2 weeks from now, we will have the first episode of the Captain Falcon, or the
Yeah.
the
Uh,
Winter Soldier and Falcon show. God damn
yeah.
it.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is very, very exciting stuff. But yeah, definitely a show that I didn't expect to be as good as it was. So.
Hmm. Yeah, it was really good. If you're an MCU fan, you have to watch it anyway because all the movies are gonna connect to it. But even as just a show, I thought it was just really really solid stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely, a nice 9 weeks of, coming back to Disney Plus every week and sort of seeing exactly what's going on and going on Twitter and seeing people spoil it for other people, but also,
Yeah.
sort of push that discussion of what's going on and people theorizing, having fun with it, but now they're all, super duper pissed, but it is what it is. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian Podcast, episode 57. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.